Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. So we have the President of the Republic takes part by video conference in the work of the United Nations General Assembly. For the national launch of a work-based learning training for Djiboutian youth. For the international scene, COP26 will be a turning point for humanity, urges Boris Johnson at the United Nations. Welcome to our newsroom. President Guelleh calls for global solidarity to overcome COVID-19. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, took part last night in the work of the United Nations General Assembly. Several issues are on the agenda of this annual meeting of heads of state and government of the United Nations member countries. The fight against the pandemic of COVID-19, the achievement of greater global solidarity around the phenomenon of global warming, and the identification of more concerted mechanisms on the main challenges, including terrorism, which are posed to the international community, are discussed during this meeting. Other issues, including the need for the reform of the United Nations system and the acquisitions for the international community and more effective instruments for an action in a world increasingly marked by a high level of threat, are also addressed in this 76th meeting of the General Assembly of the United Nations. In an intervention made this Wednesday at this meeting by video conference, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, expressed himself on all these issues and declined each time an argued protocol of visions and action on the management of these problems. Thus, in view of the definitive triumph of the societies of the world over the coronavirus pandemic, he pleaded for the establishment of an active solidarity of the international community. For him, our world, which has long since made the choice of globalization and the continuous flow of exchanges and contact, cannot do without an integrated and solidary approach to a pandemic as formidable as that of COVID-19. That's why he is of the opinion that greater efforts should be made to build a consensus on the need for a temporary lifting of property rights. We hope that the initiative of President Joe Biden will allow to identify in a concrete way the means to reverse the progressions of the virus and to ensure urgently the deployment of vaccines worldwide. He said in this sense. President Guelleh then spoke about his perception on the international community's efficient handling of global warming. In this regard, the head of state expressed his faith in the interests suspended in the adoptions at the country's level and more binding legislation on the protection of ecosystems and environments. More than ever, due to the multiplicity of devastating effects of climate change, such as prolonged drought, the multiplication of hurricanes and the rise in the sea level, extreme temperature, floods, and even the invasions of the locusts, to name a few, we have an urgent obligation to rethink our actions, he said in this regard, but he especially indexed the achievement of highly significant progress on the phenomenon of global warming to the preconditions of establishing about it at the scale of the nations of the world, an integrated process of collaboration and solidarity. The international community must accompany developing countries so that they can benefit from technology transfer, expertise, but also appropriate funding, insisted the head of state, for whom even though the Paris Agreement had been a historic achievement, the efforts made are not up to the hope born following the COP21. Under the high patronage of the Prime Minister, the Minister of Labor in charge of formalization and social protection organized a ceremony of the launch of the apprenticeship training in the workplace dedicated to the Djiboutian youth. This training program for vocational integration is conducted by ANEFIP and funded by USAID, aims to reduce unemployment in Djibouti, improve employability skills and competitiveness of young people in connection with the needs of the work, build a stronger ecosystems of workforces development that establishes a port between private companies and public institutions, and finally meet the real needs of the economy, and finally to respond to the real needs of a continuously evolving labor market. The project of employability of the workforce, which will be spread out over a period of 5 years in an effective institutional device, whose main mission consists in providing support and advice, promoting an insertion accompaniment, and maintaining a global dynamic with the support of our partners. The day was started by visiting the towns where gathered several partners. In addition, the ANEF2 ANEFIP, CNSS, INAP, and Chamber of Commerce, public-private companies were present. The Prime Minister Abdulkader Kamil Mohammed chaired the meeting, the Minister of Labor, and the member of the government. The Minister of Labor, Mr. Isman Ibrahim Roble, has indicated for his part, as a part of the implementation of the roadmap of the President of the Republic, the government is particularly committed to the fight against unemployment. The Prime Minister, His Excellency Abdulkader Kamil Mohammed, has explained in his speech that the project of employability of the workforce, which will be spread out over a period of 5 years in an effective institutional device, whose main mission consists in providing support and advice, promoting an insertion accompaniment, and maintaining a global dynamic with the support of our partners. Prime Minister Abdulkader Kamil Mohammed received today in the late mornings in his office the Regional Director for Djibouti, Egypt, and Yemen of the World Bank, Ms. Marina Weiss, at the head of a strong delegation of senior officials of the World Bank. The delegation of the World Bank, led by Ms. Marina Weiss, is on a working mission for some days in our countries, and this is as part of consultations with senior Djibouti officials to further deepen cooperation and better support Djibouti in its economic, social development plan. Prime Minister Abdulkader Kamil Mohammed welcomed the Regional Director of the World Bank, Ms. Marina Weiss. Prime Minister Abdulkader Kamil Mohammed thanked the Regional Directors for the World Bank for her constant and regular support to the social economic development of the Republic of Djibouti. Ms. Weiss, for her part, thanked the Prime Minister for the hospitalities and reaffirmed the willingness of the World Bank to accompany the Republic of Djibouti in its socio-economic development plan. The Minister of Information Communication receives a delegation from the Minister of Telecommunication of the Republic of Yemen. The Minister of Information in charge of Post Telecommunication, Radwan Abdullahi Bahdoun, received today in his office at the Ministry a delegation from the Ministry of Telecommunication and Information Technology of the sister Republic of Yemen, led by the Deputy Under Secretary for Information Technology at the Ministry of Communication of the Republic of Yemen, Mr. Raghib Nasser Al-Said. The meeting took place in the presence of the Yemeni ambassador accredited in our country, Abdullah Muslim Al-Sokotri, Secretary General of the Ministry of Communication and Post Telecommunication, Ahmed Yusuf Alami, Director of Publication, Al-Qarn newspaper, Mr. Yasin Bouha Abdullah, During the meeting, these two sides discussed the fraternal relations between Djibouti and Yemen towards the ways and means to strengthen the cooperation in the field of information technology and communication, including the Aden-Djibouti submarine cable project and ways to develop it. A ceremony marking the closing of a military courses for obtaining the military certificate of the first degree took place this morning, Wednesday, September 22, 2021, at 10 a.m. at the conference center is Lieutenant Colonel Hosh Roble Idle, located at the PICA 23, chaired by the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, His Excellency Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan. The ceremony was attended by General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the Staff, General Staff of the Armed Forces, Colonel Ibrahim Almi Qaib, the Acting Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, and several senior junior officers of the Gendarmerie. This rich and dense course dedicated to the training of future non-commissioned officers started on June 6, 2021 at Sheikh Musa Training Center for the benefit of 50 trainees, including 6 female staff. The ceremony began with the reading of the Quranic verses, followed by the announcement of the results, of which the trainees received their certificate from the hands of officials, with an advance to the next rank to the most deserving at the end of the present were given to the officials by the trainees, followed by a refreshment. A family photo of the graduate with the authorities closed the ceremony. During this colorful event, Colonel Ibrahim Almi Qaib took the floor to thank the authority for having honored the ceremony with their presence despite their obligations. He underlined the importance he attaches to the trainees of the personnel, a guarantee of professionalism, and urged the recipient to be exemplary before congratulating them for their great success. The Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, His Excellency Hassan Omar Mohammed, also held a speech in which he spoke at length to the graduate to instill in them the behavior they must observe in their future responsibilities in all places and under all circumstances. He also congratulated the recipient. The minister said he was happy to see female personnel at these courses and expressed the wish to see more girls in the courses in particular and in the ranks of the gendarmerie in general. As part of the transfer of command in the Interior Regiment, Colonel Major Aden Douale Warsama, Chief of Corps, descended from the Inter-Armies Regiment of Obok, Riao, was replaced by Major Ilyas Umar Yusuf, a new Chief of Corps, this Thursday, September 23, 2021. This ceremony, which was held at 7 a.m. at the airfield in the region of Obok, was chaired by General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, and was attended by Colonel Major Muhammad Qayad Gele, Deputy Chief of Defense Staff, Colonel Abdullahi Abdi Farah, Director General of the National Police, the Acting Chief of the Staff of the National Gendarmerie, Colonel Ibrahim Almi Qaib, Colonel Wais Omar Bogore, the Commander of the Coast Guard, and all the major officials of the Djiboutian Armed Forces, and note also the participation of the Prefect of the Obok region, Abdul Malik Mohammed Benoita, the President of the Regional Council, and the elders. After the military honors, the review of the troop, the CM Gaon in his agenda congratulate at length the exemplary career of Colonel Major Aden Douale Warsama. Indeed, 4 years spent at the head of the command of Inter-Armies Regiment of Obok, Colonel Major Aden Douale Warsama has been appointed Deputy Chief of the Armed Forces Logistic Divisions as of September 9, 2021. Married and father of 4 children, Colonel Major Aden Douale Warsama was born on 27 September in 1967 in Djibouti. Colonel Major Aden Douale Warsama joined the Djiboutian Armed Forces January 1st in 1990, and then was designated to attend the officer course at the École Spéciale Militaire de Saint-Cyr in France from October 1st in 1990 to July 31 in 1993. During his military career, Colonel Major Adan Douali Warsama has completed all the officer training courses in the infantry specialty until he graduated from the War College in the United States of America in 2010. Colonel Major Adan Douali Warsama was promoted to the rank of Colonel Major on April 1, 2021 as a reward for his outstanding performance of duty. During his tenure of command as a commander of the Obok Inter-Arms Regiment, RIAO, Colonel Major Adan Douali Warsama has spared no effort to live up to his responsibilities. Indeed, Colonel Major Adan Douali Warsama has particularly invested and taken his regiment to heart to restore its images and its effectiveness. In such a short time, Colonel Major Adan Douali Warsama has managed to mark by his talent and his professional experience the transformations of the Obok Inter-Arms Regiment into the operational regiment. In his agenda, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, paid a vibrant tribute to the military career of Colonel Major Adan Douali Warsama. In his speech, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim emphasized that since he took offices as commander of the Obok Inter-Arms Regiment, Colonel Major Adan Douali Warsama has spared no effort to live up to his responsibility, which he has performed satisfactorily. In the second part of his speech, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim addressed Commander Ilyas Omar Yusuf, the new Chief of the Staff of the Obok Inter-Arms Regiment, RIAO, appointed by presidential decree as of September 1st, 2021. The CIAMGA assured him of his unwavering support through his missions. At the end of the speeches, the CIAMGA presided over the transfer of command by handing over the flag to the new commanders, in this case, Commander Ilyas Omar Yusuf, appointed by presidential decree to command the Inter-Arms Regiment of Obok RIAO from September 1st, 2021. Subsequently, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim inspected the state of mobility means held by this regiment of Obok. Indeed, the RIAO regiment is an operational regiment deployed since 9 months on the file of carried out missions of combining and nomadizations in searches of criminal aiming at destabilizing the countries by unhealthy acts, and in order to preserve the sovereignty of the countries and the protections of our fellow citizens. Thus, this regiment, coupled with the regiment of Tajora Riate, has crisscrossed all the corners of the northern regions, the most remote and difficult to access areas, to carry out their assigned missions, hence the need for a large fleet of mobility. Despite the harshness of the terrain, the mobile team means remain operational. At the end of the ceremony, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim attended a parade on foot of the troops of the Obok regiment, headed by new commander Major Ilyas Omar Yusuf. The national police is still continuing its operation to check the respect of the traffic light. It is very early in the morning that the police officers went to the different crossroads of the city to regulate the road traffic. These large-scale operations undertaken by the national police aim to ensure the safety of our population and thus ensure a drastic decrease in the number of road accidents. Indeed, it has been observed that motorists engage in dangerous practices by not respecting the traffic light and thus endanger the life of our fellow citizens. For their third consecutive day of control of vehicles conducted by the police continued in the main arteries of the capital. These measures come after the increase in traffic accidents caused by non-compliance with traffic regulations, including traffic lights. The drivers were brought before the prosecutor's offices for non-compliance with the traffic lights and endangering the life of others. All the people stopped during these operations were called to order before the justice, and all repeat offenders are exposed to heavier penalties. These dangerous behavior are not often the causes of serious and or even fatal accidents. Spending is the most frequent cause of traffic accidents in our country. We have just learned with a deep sadness and a great affliction the death of the mother of the Minister of Economy and Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawale. The management of the whole staff of the RTD address its most sincere condolences to Ilyas Musa Dawale and Yusuf Musa Dawale, the President of the Chamber of Commerce, and to all the Dawale families. May Allah have mercy on him and welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. For the international scene, in a speech at the United Nations in New York on Wednesday, 22 September, the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson called on the world to show maturity and wisdom at COP26, scheduled for the end of October in Glasgow. It is time for humanity to grow up. Just over a month before COP26, the decisive climate summit to be held in Glasgow from November 1st to 12, 2021, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson gave an impassioned speech on the climate crisis at the United Nations General Assembly on Wednesday, September 20. COP26 will be a turning point for humanity, he warned, calling on the world to finally show maturity and wisdom. It is time for us to listen to the warnings of scientists, he said. He warned again that our beautiful planet risked becoming uninhabitable, not only for us, but for many other species, for lack of actions against global warming. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.